In a move that is equal parts cataclysmic and predictable, North Carolina's Republican gubernatorial nominee Mark Robinson has announced resignations from his senior advisor, his campaign manager, his deputy campaign manager, and finance director. That announcement was followed by other staffers who followed suit, including 2 political directors and the deputy finance director, leaving the campaign with just 3 people. 2 campaign spokesmen and a bodyguard. At this point, Mark Robinson doesn't have a campaign staff. He's got almost enough people to fill up a car. This fallout is the result of CNN's report exposing Robinson's history using porn site message boards to call himself a black Nazi and express support for slavery, among other things, even going so far as to suggest that he would own a slave if slavery still existed. It was a revelation so depraved that even for a candidate who'd already attacked school shooting survivors and derided Martin Luther King Jr., this managed to be the straw that broke the camel's back for everyone around him. Here's CNN's Andrew Kaczynski, who first broke the story of Robinson's horrific past.
CNN K-Files senior editor Andrew Kaczynski, who broke this story, joins us now with more details. Andrew, what are you hearing tonight?
Well, that's right. CNN has learned that 4 top operatives to Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson's campaign have all resigned in the wake of our story, including the campaign manager, deputy campaign manager, finance director, and top consultant and senior advisor. This is leaving his campaign right now with essentially out a senior staff heading into the last month of the election. And now I think the question is, where does this campaign go from here? Are more staff going to resign? And this is just the latest fallout from that story that we published on Thursday.
Well, right. And when you talked to him, I know you interviewed him. He denied a lot of what you laid in front of him with a lot of evidence. But did you get any indication at that time that there might be changes in his campaign, or is this a surprise to you?
Well, it's a surprise to us. We had actually heard rumors ahead of our interview with him because people might have seen that our story started to leak out before we even published it. Somebody on his campaign staff was leaking that somewhere. And we had heard rumors that some of his campaign staff had resigned. And I asked him directly in that interview, we've heard that staff on your campaign have resigned. And he said to me in that interview, I believe, that none of his campaign staff had resigned. So since then, I don't know if this happened before then, now we know that, in fact, all or many of his top operatives on his campaign have just all resigned en masse.
Yeah, we're talking about a senior advisor, the head of the campaign. It's a lot of senior staff members.
Just a whole lot of disturbing stuff there that we were able to trace to Robinson because he's used both the same username all across the web that he used on that forum, that his name was listed on that forum, and a whole bunch of stuff that pointed to that user being Mark Robinson and Mark Robinson only.
And yet, despite the fallout, Mark Robinson himself has obstinately chosen to stay in the race, having made this announcement.
Hey guys, Lieutenant Governor Robinson and your Republican nominee for governor as well, of course. Well guys, the news media is at it again. My opponent is at it again. You all have seen the half-truths and outright lies of Josh Stein on these ads over and over again. And now a story leaked by him to CNN is appearing now. Let me reassure you, the things that you will see in that story, those are not the words of Mark Robinson. You know my words, you know my character, and you know that I have been completely transparent in this race and before. Folks, this race right now, our opponents are desperate to shift the focus here from the substantive issues and focus on what you are concerned with to salacious tabloid trash. We cannot allow that to happen. And folks, we've seen this type of stuff in the past as well. Clarence Thomas famously once said he was the victim of a high-tech lynching. Well, it looks like Mark Robinson is too, by a man who refuses to stand on stage and debate me about the real issues that face you. Instead, they want to focus on salacious tabloid lies. We're not going to let them do that. We are staying in this race. We are in it to win it. And we know that with your help, we will. God bless you. And we will see you where? On the campaign trail.
And that right there is fully representative of the delusion and the utter inability to take responsibility for your own actions that has pervaded today's Republican Party. One might think that when you get exposed in 2024 as having branded yourself pro-slavery, that you might just have the self-awareness to bow out and give your party at least some semblance of a chance of winning. The fact that Robinson opted not to do that goes to show the extent to which the Trump strategy of never admitting fault, no matter how deep your depravity goes, has infected the rest of his party. And to that point, this is the direct result of Donald Trump. Here's Chris Christie putting that into perspective.
This was predictable. Mark Robinson's tenure in public life has shown erratic, sometimes highly offensive statements over and over again. And Donald Trump supported him and endorsed him. In fact, called him better than Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King Jr. on steroids.
That's right.
All right. So this was predictable. And this is the problem for us Republicans. As long as Donald Trump is your recruiting agent for candidates in swing states, we're going to continue to get our rear ends handed to us. And Mark Robinson is not going to win this race, can't win this race.
He's about 10, 12 points behind.
Right. And he's running against, by the way, a very formidable candidate in the Attorney General, Josh Stein.
Right.
So the fact is this was going to be a tough race no matter what. And the problem for them now, George, is how much will it affect the top of the ticket?
And I want to.
And that's the thing. The incentive structure in the GOP is solely to recruit candidates in the mold of Donald Trump. That means your recruitment is predicated on who is the most perverted, the most corrupt, the most sexually depraved, the most criminal, and the most shameless about all of it. The fish rots from the head. This is what happens when you build a political party in the mold of the most toxic person in the history of American politics. So look, regardless of what happens with Mark Robinson, just know that he is but a symptom of a larger disease that's overtaken the party. And it's why it's so important that everybody turn out to vote, even if in a safe blue district or state, because the goal is not only to win this election, although it is to win this election, it is also to repudiate Republicans so completely, so wholly, so unapologetically, that they will understand they'll never again be a viable political party in the United States espousing the views they espouse now. The chilling reality is that if any of these people win, people with these beliefs and this character will be validated. They will be emboldened. We will see more of them. So this is our chance, this November, but with early voting already starting, to rid ourselves of this toxic political party, their depraved beliefs, and their dangerous agenda. But we won't have a second chance. So if you're still on the fence, take a lesson from Mark Robinson's campaign staff. People who were willing to stick with this guy even when he only was attacking school shooting survivors. If even they recognize the toxicity of Mark Robinson's campaign as it stands right now, the rest of North Carolina should too. So do your part to ensure that people like Mark Robinson, like Donald Trump, like the rest of today's GOP, never get near the levers of power again in this country. Before you go, just a quick note, if you'd like to see more of my content, which is always free of advertising, sponsorships, and paywalls, please make sure to subscribe to this channel using the subscribe button right here on the screen. And if you'd like to support my work even further, you can grab a copy of my instant #1 New York Times selling book, Shameless, available for sale right now. That link is also on the screen. Thanks so much for watching.